How you doing? This is a guy from Pittsburgh, and I want to talk about online skepticism and skepticism in general. You know, I've posted online for a long time. I write online. I've written professionally. I got paid for it. I've written papers, and I tell it like it is. I don't have to make stuff up. I'm not trying to impress anybody. If I say I've done something, I've done it. If I say I've met somebody, I've met them. If I say I've seen something, it's happened. Now you can choose to not believe me.
It's 5 o'clock.
But if you're like the guy on Bellgab tonight who questioned what I say as if to say I'm lying about it, that's just plain wrong. You don't want to believe somebody? Don't believe them. But don't question their integrity by implying that they're lying. You get that all the time. You hear people say, I saw a UFO. Or, I saw a flying pumpkin. It looks like a big white baseball. And it's all lit up. And it flew across the sky. Now that might sound crazy if you saw something like this flying around and hovering and maybe turning upside down or rotating. It might sound crazy, but the guy isn't drunk. And if the guy is of good character, known in the community, then don't make fun of the guy because you don't believe him. We had a guy last night on Art Bell's Dark Matter, Timothy Good. I got his books on my shelves. His books are a damn good read. But for some reason, he chose to give a whole lot of third-hand stories last night. Stories that can't be proved, but they can't be disproven either. There just isn't any paper proof. These are stories that he's telling of things he's seen, people he's met, people he's talked to. And being a UFO researcher, you hear all kinds of stories, I'm sure of that. I got told by a roommate that the roommate worked on an alien craft in a facility. And all they had done, and this is in the mid-'80s, was open the doors of the craft, turn on the lights, turn on the systems in the craft. They couldn't get it to do anything else. And that's as far as they got at that time. And that was long before I ever heard about Roswell or downed spaceships. Did I believe him? Well, he lived with me for a while, so I didn't disbelieve him. I didn't make fun of him. I didn't question what he was telling me. And we never got into it further because a few months later he moved out to be with his girlfriend. He had nowhere to stay at the moment, so I took him at his word. Because I didn't have any reason to doubt his veracity. And I don't know why Timothy Good wasn't a good guest tonight, because his books are damn good. No pun intended. But we got too many skeptical people out there. The Committee for Skeptical Investigation of Paranormal Phenomena or Scientific Explanation, whatever that, SCICOP, whatever the hell they call themselves. They're not scientists. They're skeptics. A scientist explores science. He tries to come up with an explanation for things. But he also should, and unfortunately we have too many scientists who don't, should have an open mind. They have a closed mind. Because they're not willing to accept anything that doesn't lay within the parameters of their paradigm. You got guys like Mick Chukaku who say, yeah, this can be happening, that can be happening. I got a book in my bedroom, The Physics of Star Trek. And when it was written about 10 years ago, the guy who wrote it, not Jokaku, said the transporter will never probably exist, neither will warp drive. And yet NASA's working on warp drive. And Kaku has said they have transported individual electrons and neutrons and protons and particles, maybe atoms, I don't know. Heard on Art Bell. So in 10 years, they're doing stuff they thought would be impossible. I personally am convinced we'll have warp drive, or something that bends light or goes around Einstein's limit on the speed of light. And we'll travel to the stars one day. I'm hoping it'll be in our lifetime. And I know we as human beings can do anything we put our mind to it. We've done it. 100 years ago, men were trying to fly. They were using balloons. They were using human-powered stuff that didn't work. And two guys in North Carolina built a plane. They didn't fly very far, very long, but it flew. Everybody said you could never do that. Now you got jets that fly over the world. You got rockets that go to International Space Station, to the moon. You got satellites orbiting the Earth, bringing your radio. And you got surveyors on Mars. I wish they'd find a cave and go into it, see if there's anybody really under the Martian surface, like some people have claimed. And I wish some private group would send one up there so that maybe their signal would show what we might not be getting from NASA. Some group that has no bone to pick, put their own surveyor up there and see what the hell is on Mars in the sections that NASA isn't looking for. In fact, if I had the money or the wherewithal or the power, I'd drop one on that face in Sidonia and see if Hogan's were right all these years or it's just a big rock. Or wouldn't it be funny if there really are Martians, they put a paper mache face there, just, let's screw with the humans. Anyway, skeptics. I don't get them. I don't understand them. Skeptics about the Kennedy assassination. Skeptics about the RFK assassination. The Martin Luther King assassination. The guys are dead. But you really believe it was one guy who was supposedly poor as a church mouse, yet had money to go to Russia? One guy who got an Italian weapon that supposedly didn't fire very well? One guy who was in a lunchroom in Dallas and yet was on the 6th floor shooting Kennedy at the same time? One guy who shot from the forward out the back, and yet there were reports of shots being fired from the grassy knoll? I don't. I never have. And a guy on Bellgab who questioned my integrity, I read the entire Warren Commission report. Not the little books you got in the newsstand, the whole damn 26 volumes. It took a long time. And that was over 50 years ago, but I read them when they came out. There's a lot of stuff out there we'll never hear about because the powers that be don't want us to know. That's why the records for the Warren Commission were sealed for 50 years. That's why records on Roswell were destroyed that Stephen Schiff asked for. There are UFO sightings out there. We've never seen the documents from Blue Book. Why? Where are they? And yet supposedly all the records have been released. Keogh used to talk about this. He'd get reports on UFO sightings. The documentation would disappear. And yet the skeptics say there's no proof. I guess one day if a saucer lands on one of these skeptics and squashes them like the Wicked Witch of the West, a house falling on her, and before he puts out his last breath, it's It's illusion. It's swamp gas. I must be hallucinating. And then he goes, eh. That's what it would take. You'd have to have that or an asteroid fall on one of these guys to believe it. Anyway, this is a guy from Pittsburgh. I can't stand skeptical people. Use your heads. Someone says something, that doesn't mean they're lying. It doesn't mean they've got an axe to grind. It doesn't mean they're doing it for profit. There's people out there legitimately seen sightings. Thousands of people in Mexico City have seen UFOs over the city. You gonna call the whole city a liar? People saw them over at Hare Airport. People saw them in Phoenix, the Phoenix Lights, but the Air Force tried to tell us they were flares. What a crock of crap that was. Just like they were test dummies that they were dropping in 1956, and they dropped 3 different times over Roswell. If they weren't test dummies, they were some Air Force guy's monkey. Come on, people. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Have a good morning. And don't listen to the skeptics. Think for yourself. See you later.